I remember the very first time that I kind of knew that music and God and all this sort of stuff, you know, I mean, was linked. I reckon I was about 16 and the headmaster came to me one morning in school and said, you know, would you mind singing this song in assembly? And I think, oh no, I can't believe, I mean, that's not the sort of thing you do in an all-boys grammar school, you know, where you play rugby and whatever, is sing your little song in front of your mates. And, but I did it, and I got my little amplifier and my microphone, and the headmaster introduced me. And I remember singing this song, and now I would say, you know, that the presence of God came, but then I didn't really understand what that was, or I wouldn't have given it that label. I just sort of knew something had happened in that school hall, the atmosphere had changed, and I remember, you know, you could have heard a pin drop. That's when I first realised that this thing that called music that God touches is an incredibly powerful thing. And I suppose I made a promise to God that, you know, I wanted to give my life to doing that for the rest of my days.
Going all the way with you.
Yeah, the first memory of meeting any one of the other guys, you know, Tim, Stu, Stoogie, John, was definitely Tim, because I was this young lad working at this recording studio, and this very cheerful, happy-go-lucky guy used to come over, and the deal was always that, you know, we'd finish by 10 o'clock and go for a curry down the road in Eastbourne. That was always the deal. Got finished by 10 o'clock, he'd say, and in those moments we used to just talk and talk and talk, and he was full of great vision, full of great faith. I always remember that. And you know, he'd be like, oh, I want to do this one day, we're going to do this one day, I want to do this. And it was very infectious.
That's what's commonly known by the rest of the band as religious piano. There you go. Martin was this really kind of shy, almost withdrawn character. I can remember times, actually, just to make people laugh, I was the one, I would end up leading the worship in the meetings. And then every time he had a day off, I was just newly married, and he used to come over to our flat. And I can remember him turning up sometimes at like 2 or 3 in the morning. And he had to be back at work at 9 the next morning. He would just come for the night and we'd sit up and chat. And sometimes he'd turn up and he had like a bag of shopping with him. And he'd been to Tesco's. And his kind of way of saying thank you was to buy some groceries for us. And he had the most odd selection of stuff because he knew nothing about buying groceries.
I remember meeting Stu next, Stu Smith. And what I remember about this guy was I'd never really met anyone as cool as him. You know, like a Christian guy that I thought, this guy's really cool. Shades, great haircut, he was a graphic designer. And he played drums as well.
That's actually me. Real hair. That's my hair, it's not a wig. 70s party, all my mates turned up with afro wigs rented. That is me with real hair, back combed. I couldn't even get in my car. The trouble is it got totally knotty from there and I had to get it cut, but that was real hair, Stu Smith. The cigar obviously is false, it's just Chocolate Kids.
I thought, wow, can't get a better guy than that in your band, can you? And but the thing I remember was that this guy that was cool and seemed to have it all together actually loved God too, and he had a real heart for God. And I thought, you know, I don't think I've ever met anyone like this.
We started a local youth event called Cutting Edge, and at the time I was a youth leader in the church with Tim, the keyboard player's wife, Becca. And so we used to run this event called Cutting Edge 2 hours on a Sunday night, and it was a journey. It was just an incredible roller coaster of trying to be creative and trying to bring art and music and fuse the whole thing together and find out, you know, how could we really say thank you to God, really. That was the whole thing. Within a year, there's 1,000 kids showing up, and there was obviously something very tangible going on. You know, we even picked up on that.
I wasn't actually in the band at this time, and I was actually selling these cassettes at the back. And so at the time I was single, and it was a great way of meeting girls. But that was then. But so these cassettes, as Dad said, they would arrive, and we'd literally be hand folding them on Sunday afternoon before the concert that evening.
That's right.
And then they would all go, and it was the idea of selling 50 was mind-blowing at the time.
At the top of John's house, there were 2 bedrooms, and I actually lodged when I first came to Rustington in the bedroom next door to John's. So there we were, and there's this like 14-year-old kid, really annoying, like leaving alarm clocks underneath my pillow, and they'd be going off at 4 in the morning, and I think, who is this stupid kid?
The first time I played with them was when they got a call from the bass player that was playing that night who couldn't make the gig. So they came over to me and said, John, you know, can you play bass tonight? And I said, I'm not good enough, you know, it's not, you know, you guys are all professional, you guys are great. They said, no, come on, if you don't do it, then no one's going to do it. And so with that, I said, oh, well, okay, you know, don't expect too much. So I went back and got my bass, and that was a great experience. I was very intimidated by the whole thing. Never really played in front of that kind of crowd before. And before I knew it, it was kind of it was a very natural process, and I was playing with them, and you know, that was the beginning of the story really for me.
And I remember thinking, this guy's really into music, and he's not just into music, but really into weird music as well, and I used to love that.
This here is one of my favourite guitars, a Fender Precision. Hasn't got any strings on, so you can't play any wrong notes. Genius.
I think John is Delirious' secret weapon, because he doesn't say much, but when he says it, it's pretty profound, and we all listen, and it's usually full of stacks of wisdom. I remember meeting Stu G, and he was playing in a band called Treasure Park, and he had these long golden locks. I call them golden, and they sort of came down to here. He was very rock and roll. He was very, very sort of intense, serious sort of rock and roll character, and he was going to be a household name. He was going to be a rock star, and I was thinking, this guy's pretty impressive.
They ended up inviting me down to come and play guitar in one of the Sunday nights cutting edge meetings, and I'm just going to hit this shot. I was excited to get involved at that stage, definitely, because it was a real baby project, but it really felt like, you know, the world was opening up to it, and we were about to kind of ride the wave, as it was.
He came to play on a few things after a few cups of tea and a late night curry. I thought, this guy's amazing, I really love him. I keep on saying this to him, and he always laughs at me. He always says, oh, shut up. But I don't actually know many guitarists that are better than him. And I think he really is one of the best guitarists in the world. I mean, when you see him in the studio, you see him writing, you see him on stage, so careful about his tone and his gear.
Get a good rock pose going, really, I guess.
Nice. So, we live in Rustington, which is in the Littlehampton area, which is in the Arran district, which is on the south coast of England, which is in Europe. It's kind of nowheresville, really. It's you know, when people ask us where we come from, we say London, because it's easier that way. So this is the English Channel. Those are some crows. Over there in the distance is the Isle of Wight. There's our lovely beach patrolman, keeps us safe. You'll see Stu G walking his dog along this beach. you'll see Stu Smith taking a run. There's rolls in there. I've boiled the kettle, will you put it on for Stoogie? There's a genuine friendship between the five of us where, you know, we've said that so many times and you think, yeah, you know, are we just kidding ourselves? Is that a nice line, or is this really genuine? And I think just by the time we spend with each other outside of the band, you know, it's without a shadow of a doubt. No casualties yet. There's always a barbecue casualty. Welcome to Furious Records and Fierce Distribution, home of Delirious. So I just drive straight through for the camera.
Hello.
Morning, it's John at the door.
Hi, come on in.
Thank you. Secret weapon. And here we are at the Furious offices. This is the hub of our activity. This is where stuff happens.
We're in this to do the music. The music's the thing that's driving it and the reason why we're here. But our byproduct of that is business, and we had to come to terms with that very early on and decide, well, how then are we going to handle this? What's the best way to take care of business?
These are the creative boys. And I think you'll find here Mr. Stu Smith, busy at work, working on a picture of himself, making himself look pretty. So this is where we keep all our band equipment and studio equipment. And as you can see, we've acquired a lot of it over the years, which needs a good tidy up and a sort out. And then behind you is our tech room, where our lovely tech will fix our guitars. And again, we're in between tech, so it's a bit of a mess. Nothing to do with me, honest. And over this side is Fierce Distribution, which is our distribution label, which distributes our music and other music throughout the world.
Martin used to write songs about the girlfriends he had at the time, and I tell you what, they were so depressing, some of them. And I can remember telling him, come on, you've got to write some more cheerful songs here. These are a bit too, make me feel too depressed. And thankfully, I think he's long left that phase behind him.
My first song was a very intimate love song about a girlfriend of mine. I think she was about 12 years old at the time. And it was very intense, you know, very deep. I remember at the time being, you know, wow, these are pop hits, you know. But none of them made the day, thankfully.
I've seen Martin and Stu write in all sorts of environments. On planes, I've seen them write. I've seen sit out in the garden and write. I mean, I can remember one year, my wife Becca and I were on holiday with Martin and Anna in Cornwall in a little cottage, and we sat out and it had a lovely garden, and somebody lent me a squeeze box, and I don't know why, because I can't really play it, but I actually took it on holiday with me. And I had this squeeze box in this cottage, and we're sitting out in the garden one evening, the sun's going down, it's all great vibe and all this. And I think it's even before we had children. And then Martin comes out and he had a little acoustic guitar.
I had all the time in the world. It's before I had children, sitting on a hilltop, looking over, thinking, this is wonderful, this is wonderful. And it came out very, very fast.
Over the mountains and the seas, your river runs with love for me, and here we are, looking over the cliffs and the coast and all that, and it's all there in front of you. And that was one of my most tangible memories of him writing a song. There's been other times when I've seen him really struggle.
So many lyric books spread out all over the place. Normally get through one a project. Well, I think one of the greatest moments recently, and I think Stu G will agree with me on this, was we were in the studio on the Mission Bell recording, and I just said to the guys, all I've got is a song title, and it's called Miracle Maker. I said I would love us to have a song on the record called Miracle Maker.
You are
And Stu says, oh yeah, what about those chords that we were messing about with, you know, in this rehearsal in America? I remember it where we were. And it was him and me on the stage. The lads had gone out somewhere. We were jamming on these chords. And I said to him then, I'll remember those because we're going to need those. And I'm not exaggerating, an hour later, the whole song was written, all the lyrics, all the music, and it was recorded. And I think we went in the control room and just looked at each other and just thought, I cannot believe what's just happened.
The whole song of Investigate is probably the song I enjoy playing the most. That's got great memories for me actually, writing it, because Martin bought me a guitar. He bought me a 1937 Dobro acoustic. The chord sequence that starts that song is the very first thing I played as soon as I picked it up.
Found here a song called Stu's Song. It says, come close to me, too close for words. What could I say? You're still my beating heart. Now that turned out to be all the way. Come close to me, too close for words, and still my beating heart. So, great song that was. And is. Yeah, so next page over it comes into being called All the Way, with you on Washed as White as the Snow. So that's normally how it works. Yeah, I guess we all have defining moments in our lives, you know, some small, some great. I think it was 1996, and I'd been driving home from Lincoln through the night to actually see Stu and Sarah's new little baby Abby, who'd just been born like 2 days before. So my wife Anna and I were thinking, right, well, let's just get back, let's just drive through the night so we can visit the hospital in the morning. And John was with us too. And you know, it was just one of those stupid things where we were one road away from home, and I just fell asleep at the wheel. That's all I can say. I don't know quite what happened. Crashed into this wall at 40 miles an hour, which doesn't sound a lot, doesn't sound that fast, but from looking at the pictures of the car, it is pretty fast.
3 o'clock in the morning. And there's the carnage at the end of the road. Nothing much left of the car. I can picture it now. Martin sitting in the car with the doctors all around him. And you were saying there was someone else in the car with you. Isn't that right?
No, the people that pulled me out asked me who the person was sitting next to me, and there wasn't actually anyone sitting next to me.
Well, they did though. They said there were 4 people in the car, didn't they?
Yeah, the police report said there were 4 people, but it was just the 3 of us. So there was a mystery guest with us.
1st of September 95. Wow, I didn't even know this existed. This is a diary entry. Well, I'm sitting in a hospital bed in a hospital in Shoreham. I've just gone through the most horrific experience of my life. I will try and relay exactly what happened. I was obviously a little bit depressed, wasn't I? We were driving back from Lincoln. I'd been feeling a little tired on the journey. You can say that. We all got the way into Rustington. I fell asleep at the wheel, crossed the side of the road and went into someone's garden wall. And I remember just sitting there thinking, you know, God, if you get me out of this mess, this is going to be amazing. But God really used that, and He was speaking to me, you know, quite profoundly about, okay, guys, are you going to do this properly, or are you going to just keep your jobs, do this as a weekend thing? What are you going to do? And I remember sitting there thinking, you know, I can remember it as clear as day now. I remember, I don't care if I get a penny for this. I don't really care what happens. But the feeling was so intense that God was calling us to go for it. Lord, I'm thankful to you. You saved my life again and given me a fresh perspective on my life. it has made me give myself to plan A even more for the glory of God.
I'm gonna make a history maker in this land. I'm gonna stand. I'm gonna run into your.
Funnily enough, that the first thing that I think about when I'm going on stage oftentimes is not actually playing the guitar. It's kind of things like not tripping up, because we like to, it's normally dark, and like on our tours we've got like a video intro and stuff like that, so it's all about the show, so it's kind of, the cue comes for us to go on, and you like to make a bit of an entrance, so not necessarily the first thing I'm thinking about is playing guitar. That often comes just a few seconds later when it's too dark for me to see where my fingers need to go. So so that's the first thing. So like say we're doing Rain Down or something like that to start a show, which we often do, which for me is that.